Welcome to the lecture series on network and cyber security. So this is lecture number 10 of module number 2. So before going through this lecture number 10, let's see what all we have covered in the previous lecture. So in previous lecture we have discussed about the introduction to PGP, that is pretty good privacy. This is the email security protocol, the first email security protocol that we are going to study. So PGP. So here we learned that PGP was created by Phil Zimmermann in 1991, and we have also discussed about the steps he has followed to build this algorithm. We came to know that he selected the standard and the best available cryptographic algorithms in those days, and then integrated these algorithms into a general purpose application, that is for mail transmission purpose. And he combined different services and made packages. Then he made it freely available in the internet. He also came up with commercial versions of this PGP for different sets of industries, for different domains, for different areas of industries and applications. He came up with different types of packages. We saw why this PGP became so popular in different fields. We discussed what are the reasons for its popularity, and it is because of availability in different platforms, and which is also freely available on the internet, and also because of the standard algorithms that he is using in those packages, which are already declared as a standard and widely used by different sectors in the market. And the another reason is it is freely available. There is no one owning it. There is no any owner of this PGP protocol. So there is no any controlling of it. There is no any organization. There is no any government who is controlling this protocol. So that is one of the main advantage of being popular of this protocol. In previous lecture we also saw the different notations that we have used, or we are going to use in today's lecture also, in the PGP operations, the notations that are used in the PGP operations in providing different services. In previous class, in previous lecture we saw how this PGP provides the authentication only service. We actually saw the diagram of operation of this PGP providing the authentication only service. So in today's lecture we will continue this with the second service provided by the PGP, that is the confidentiality only service, where only the confidentiality of the message is provided. There is no any authentication involved in this, but the confidentiality is there. And this type of service is utilized in some type of applications. We will see that later. And the other service that we are going to discuss in today's lecture is the combination of this confidentiality and authentication approach. So here in this service we are providing both authentication of the message and the parties involved, that is the sender and the receiver, and also the confidentiality of the message. So both services are combined simultaneously. So both operations are carried out simultaneously to provide this service. And we will also discuss about the compression, how this PGP is going to compress the message, why the compression is required, and where this compression algorithm should be applied, in which area or in which box, or after which output we are going to apply this compression algorithm, and which algorithm we are going to use for the compression. And we will also see about the compatibility of the email, how this PGP will be compatible with different platforms, and what all the schemes that it is going to use to provide this compatibility service. So the outcome of the today's lecture is the students will have the better understanding of the basics of the PGP, that is the email security protocol that we are going to discuss. So what all the basics, how this PGP provides the different types of services, and what all the algorithms it is using. So the students will have the better understanding of these basics. In previous lecture we already seen the diagram for the authentication only service provided by this PGP, and today we will start with the confidentiality only. So this is the diagram showing the confidentiality service provided by the PGP and its operation. So this confidentiality only service is provided by encrypting messages to the transmitted or to be stored locally as files in those kind of applications. So confidentiality only service is provided in those applications where we are going to store the data locally as files in local systems in their own organization, in their own companies, where they will just encrypt the files and they will keep and they will store it locally in their hard drives. In those kind of applications, the confidentiality only service will be needed. So the algorithm used for the symmetric encryption that we are going to do in this confidentiality service is CAST 128 CAST 128 bit encryption algorithm, that is CAST 128. The other alternative algorithms are IDEA algorithm or triple DS algorithm. So these are some alternate algorithms that we can use for symmetric encryption in this confidentiality only service. And the mode, one more important thing is the mode of operation. Mode of operation of symmetric encryption is 64-bit cipher feedback mode, CFB mode that we call, where the ciphertext of the present plain text block is given as the feedback for the encryption of the next plain text block. So that's why the name feedback mode, cipher feedback mode. We are giving the feedback, and what is that feedback? Ciphertext of the previous plain text is given as a feedback to the encryption of the next plain text block. So here, this is what is going to happen here. So the original message, that is YUM, the plain text, is first compressed using the compression algorithm. The compression algorithm that the PGP uses is the ZIP algorithm, ZIP. ZIP algorithm is the compression algorithm used by the PGP. So first the plain text is compressed by the ZIP algorithm, and then the compressed message is encrypted using the symmetric encryption. So we already know that there are two types of encryptions, symmetric encryption and the public key encryption. So the compressed message is symmetrically encrypted using the key, session key, KS. So this is the key used for the symmetric encryption of compressed message. But this symmetric key, that is the secret key, session key, we can also call it as a session key, this should be again transmitted or distributed secretly to the receiver side, because this is the key which is required at the receiver side for the symmetric decryption. We know that in symmetric encryption and decryption, the key used is same key is used for both encryption and decryption, so that if this key is generated, this session key, if this is generated at the sender side, it has to be securely distributed at the receiver side for the decryption purpose. So this session key again should be securely distributed. So this key is again encrypted using the public key encryption. So here we have EC, which stands for symmetric encryption, and this is EP, which is the public key encryption. For this encryption, the key used is a public key of the receiver. Public key of the receiver. So public key of the receiver is the key for this public key encryption, and the public key encryption is done on session key, and the output is concatenated with the output of the symmetric encryption of the compressed message. So these two are concatenated to form a single message which is transmitted to the receiver side. So now the receiver will receive this whole message. So receiver will receive this whole message, which is the concatenation of two encryption outputs. One This lower part is the encryption of the symmetric encryption of the compressed message, original message, and this is the output of the public key encryption of the session key. So first, after receiving at the receiver side, first what he will do, the receiver, first he will get this session key for the decryption of this plain text. So first what he will do, he will take this upper part and he will apply the decryption. Which decryption? Public key decryption. And for the decryption, public key decryption, the key required is the counterpart of this key, which is used at the sender side for the public key encryption. So for the public key encryption, the key used is the public key of the receiver. So here the key required is the private key of the receiver. So using the private key of the receiver, the decryption algorithm, the same public key decryption algorithm is done on the upper part of the concatenated message, and after the decryption we will get the session key, KS. So this is mentioned here. So that same key is required for the decryption, symmetric decryption at the receiver side. So first we need to retrieve that KS. So KS is retrieved here after the public key decryption. So that KS is used for the decryption, symmetric decryption of the lower part of this concatenated message. So this lower part is taken and then it is given to the symmetric decryption algorithm, which uses the KS key, session key, and the output is what? It is a compressed message. So to get the original plain text message back, we need to decompress it. So we will apply the Z inverse algorithm, that is the zip inverse of the zip algorithm. So once we apply the zip inverse of this zip algorithm, Z inverse, we will get the plain text back. So this is what happens in the confidentiality only approach. Here we are only providing the confidentiality. There is no any authentication here. We can see there is no any hash function included anywhere in this diagram. There is no any hash operation performed in this diagram. We can say that hash operation is carried out in the authentication service. If we require the authentication service, we have to go for the hash function. So there is no any hash function because this service is mainly focusing on providing the confidentiality. There is no any authentication. And one more thing about this session key. This session key, as the name indicates, this will be the key for the whole session, but in reality this is a one-time key. So this is one thing we need to keep in mind. So this is a one-time key. That means it should be used only once, and there is no any relationship among the keys used for symmetric encryption of different messages. So here for every different message there is a different session key, and each key that we are going to use in symmetric encryption for the encryption of the message, different messages, is different. There is no any type of relationship between the keys used. So that is one very important thing we need to remember. So this is about the confidentiality only service. So these are the steps that we can follow here, that we have followed to provide this confidentiality only service. The sender generates a message and a random 128-bit number to be used as a session key for this message only. The message is encrypted using cast 128 or IDEA or triple DES with the session key. These are the algorithms used for the symmetric encryption. The session key is encrypted with RSA algorithm, that is the public key algorithm. So here the public key encryption. So this is the RSA. RSA algorithm is used using the recipient's public key, and it is prepended or concatenated to the message. And at the receiver side, the receiver uses the RSA with its private key, the alternative key. Here we have used the public key, so now we will use the private key to decrypt and recover the session key. First we will recover the session key, and then we will go for the symmetric decryption of the message. The session key is used to decrypt the message. So this is what we have seen in the confidentiality only. So now we will combine both confidentiality and authentication services to provide the combination of these two. So let's see what happens here. So here again we have the original message, the plain text. So here first we will apply the hash function to this original message to get the hash value. So the first operation that we are going to perform here is the hash function on the original message to get the hash value. That hash value is encrypted using the public key encryption. So EP stands for public key encryption, which we have already discussed in the previous lecture, lecture number 9. So this public key encryption, and the key used here is a private key of the sender. So A stands for sender here, B stands for the receiver. So private key of the sender is used for the public key encryption of the hash code that is generated. So that hash code is appended or concatenated with the original message. So this part, up to this we are providing the authentication. So hash value is used for the authentication service. So after this, the next operation is compression. The zip algorithm is applied here, the compression, and after the compression, EC stands for symmetric encryption. The key used for this encryption is again the session key, and again this session key should be securely distributed at the receiver side. So we will again encrypt this session key using the public key encryption, just like what we have seen in the previous slide while providing the confidentiality only service. So again here for the public key encryption, the key used is the public key of the receiver. B stands for receiver, A stands for sender. So public key of the receiver is used for the public encryption of the session key. So these two are concatenated once again to form a single message, one single big message, concatenated message, and that message is transmitted to the receiver side. So now the receiver side, once the receiver side receives this message, first he need to do the operations in the reverse order. So whatever the operations performed in the sender or sender side, the same operations should be done by the receiver side to get the original message back, but in the reverse order. So first we will decompress it. That means we will first get the session key and then symmetric decryption, and then what, inverse of the compression, and then get the hash code and then the original message back, or compare it with the original message. So let's see what happens here. So first at the receiver side, the upper part is taken and the decryption algorithm, public key decryption algorithm is used using the key, private key of the receiver. Private key of the receiver is used to perform the public key decryption on this upper part of the concatenated message, So after this decryption, what we will get? We will get the session key, KS. So that KS is used for the symmetric decryption of the lower part. So symmetric decryption is done. So after the symmetric decryption, we will get the zip, that is compressed file. So we will get the compressed file. So we will apply the decompression algorithm, Z inverse, and we will get the original message back. But this original message is not completely recovered because it is appended with the hash code, encrypted hash code. So we need to compare it. To provide the authentication, we need to compare the hash code of the sender side and the receiver side. So we need to calculate the hash code or generate the hash code separately at the receiver side. So what happens? The receiver will take the upper part and he will decrypt that value. So here this is the original message and the upper part is the hash code generated by the sender side. So first he will retrieve that one by decrypting the upper part using the public key of the sender, because for while encrypting the sender has used his private key. So now the counter key you need to use for the decryption, so that is the public key. So public key is used for the decryption of the hash code, and here we will get at the output of the decryption, we will get the hash value which is generated by the sender here. So receiver again separately he will calculate the hash code. Separately, he will generate the hash code by applying the hash function on the original message, and later he will compare both hash code generated by the sender side and hash code newly generated by the receiver side, and then he will compare. If these two are same, then there is no any change in the original message. If there is any change happened or occurred while transmission to the receiver side, then the hash code generated by the receiver side will be different from the hash code generated by the sender side. So these two will not be same if there is any change in the message. So this comparison, if it is equal, then there is no any change, the message is the original message, and that will be authenticated by the receiver by this hash code. So this is how we are providing both confidentiality and authentication services simultaneously. Here we are applying the hash code, and again here we are applying the symmetric encryption. So hash code for the authentication and symmetric encryption for the confidentiality. And one more thing, the placement is very important here. So we can apply this encryption first and the hash code next. We can also do that, but practically applying the hash code to the original message first is more important, and it is very easy compared to the applying of the encryption to the original message. We will see that later, why it is like that. Coming to the compression. So here we have applied this zip algorithm, the compression here, and then here we have applied the inverse of this zip algorithm. So PGP itself provides this facility of applying this compression. Compression is applied before the encryption, but after the hash value, hash generation. As a default, PGP compresses the message after applying the signature, but before encryption. After applying the signature, that means after calculating the hash code. So hash code will itself act as a digital signature. So digital signature is nothing but the hash value. So that is generated before the encryption, and this signature is generated before encryption. Why it is so? Compression, this actually benefits in saving the space for local file storage and also for the email transmission. For example, for future verification of this signature, if we want to verify the signature of any document, it is easy to look at the original document and retrieve the signature directly. But if we compress and we apply the encryption, and then if we want to verify the digital signature of that document, then we have to decompress it. First we need to decrypt it, and then we apply the decompression, and then we can retrieve the signature. So it will be a tedious job to retrieve the signature. So for the local storage of these files along with the signature, so it is better to apply the signature before compression and encryption. So the signature, the hash code is applied before encryption and also before compression. So message encryption is applied after compression to strengthen the cryptographic security. So we can see here in the diagram. So first we are applying the hash code, and then the zip algorithm, that is the compression, and then there is a encryption. So first hash, next compress, next encryption. So compression is in between this hash and encryption. Compression is between the hash and the encryption, symmetric encryption. So message encryption is applied after compression to strengthen the cryptographic security. And one more reason for the applying of this compression before encryption is it is good. It is a good practice. It is generally considered as a good practice to apply encryption on compressed document or file. because compressed message has less redundancy than the original plain text. So that's why it is important to apply the encryption on the compressed data always, and that will make the cryptanalysis more difficult. That will make the attack on the documents or the cyber attacks more difficult. So compression algorithm used is the zip algorithm. So that we have already seen. So next is about the compatibility, email compatibility. This output of each block that we have discussed in the operation here, the output of each block, the hash and this compression, this symmetric encryption, the output of all these blocks is the 8-bit octets. The output is in the 8-bit octets. But the problem is many electronic systems, many electronic mail systems only permit the use of blocks consisting of ASCII characters. So to overcome this problem, PGP provides the other facility, other service, one more advantage, one more additional service of the compatibility by converting the raw 8-bit binary string to a stream of printable ASCII characters. So the scheme used or algorithm used for this purpose is Radix 64 conversion. Radix 64 conversion, we are applying it to convert from 8-bit octets into the ASCII characters, 7-bit ASCII characters. And the use of this Radix 64 expands the size by 33%. It is actually studied here. There is a publication which says that after applying the Radix 64, the size of the message will be expanded by 33%, which is actually compensated by the compression applied earlier. So each group of 3 octets of binary data is mapped into 4 ASCII characters. So this is the scheme used by the PGP to provide the compatibility, so that it will convert the 8-bit octets into the ASCII characters, which is supported by most of the email systems in the internet. So this is about the all 4 services we have seen in the previous lecture of this PGP. Now combining all these in a single diagram, we will get this one. So the figure A shows the generic transmission diagram, which is having all 4 services of the PGP. That is first here we are applying the signature hash value, and then we are applying the compression, and the next we are encrypting it, symmetric encryption, that is the confidentiality service, and then converting to Radix 64, that is the compatibility. So combining all 4 services of the PGP, and we are showing it here in transmission and the reception steps of the PGP messages. So this part shows the transmission and this part shows the reception diagram. So first here we are taking the original message, and then we will check whether the authentication service is needed. If it is required, then we will generate the signature of this original message, and then that one is appended and then compressed with the zip algorithm, and then we will check whether the confidentiality service is required. If yes, then we will go for the encryption, symmetric encryption, using some keys as we have already discussed earlier, and then the whole thing is converted into Radix 64, so that the 8-bit octets is converted to the ASCII characters, which is compatible to different platforms, different mail systems, and that is sent to the receiver side. So at the receiver side, what happens? First it will convert from Radix 64. So here we have converted to Radix 64. So here we are converting from Radix 64, and then the result is checked for the confidentiality. If there is a confidentiality applied, then we will decrypt this using the appropriate keys. So after the decryption, we will decompress it, and then we will check if there is any authentication applied already. Then we will strip the signature out from the original message, and then we will compare it, and then we will compare for the authentication with the original message. So this is what happens in the PGP processes. So this is how the security is provided by the PGP, that is the Pretty Good Privacy Protocol for the mail transmissions. Coming to the summary of today's lecture. So in today's class we saw different approaches of providing services like authentication only, confidentiality only, and both combination of simultaneous authentication and confidentiality simultaneously in PGP. So we also discussed about the PGP operation of transmissions and receptions of the messages, which is consisting of all 4 services. We saw each service differently, and then we combined all those services to see how this transmission and reception occurs in the PGP. So this is about the PGP. In the next class we will start with the SMIME protocol. Thank you.